Hello and welcome to Zero Cool Gaming and today's topic for discussion. So, what am I going to talk about today? Today I'm going to talk about a game that I do not own, that I have never played, but I have watched hundreds of hours of other people playing it. And, well, let's just get right into it. Today we're going to talk about Minecraft and what I guess, learned about it in a relatively short time. And I'll kind of give you an understanding of how that occurred in that respect. Years ago, I watched a couple of tutorials done in Minecraft on how to build like certain machines, like a windmill that would move water, or, things like this. Um, Building a generator, light source, these sorts of things. And then later, truly, this is not a game that I would enjoy. It's not. There are aspects of it that I could do. Um, I've never been much of one who really enjoyed the paperwork, but I do enjoy the final product. And we'll get into what I mean by that here in a little bit. So I realize, it looks like a very basic game, but it truly is not. Um, and it wasn't until recently that I really came to understand that. It still keeps things on a pretty basic level, but you got to have some understandings, I think, before you can really get into what this game is capable of. And I also don't know how well the skills that you would learn doing Minecraft in that respect would translate into later fields of engineering and the programs that are used there. It's a pretty deep subject, truly. I was surprised. So anyway, recently I've been watching VTubers, and the VTubers that I watch, of course, are in English, and they're relatively new. I say VTubers, there's really only one that I watch, but I watch shorts that have other VTubers in them in that respect. Not necessarily collabs, especially when it comes to Minecraft. It just a lot of times kind of happens. But regardless, um, I've been watching them, like I said, for about a year, and it was basic Minecraft stuff, truly, that these VTubers were creating. And then they would visit other servers. They would build like gates to connect Minecraft servers to each other. And they went to a Japanese server, and while though my interest was piqued, let's put it that way, when they visited that server, because I saw a whole lot of engineering going on that was of a pretty high level. And I'm like, okay, this isn't something that you're just pulling out of your rear end. This requires like maps. This requires programs that would show you how to build and construct this properly and get it to function. You would need 3 to 4 different types of programs to do this, and I knew that because it was too intricate, too big, too elaborate not to be. But when they went to the Japanese server, they never really showed any of the background, any of the engineering, any of the programming that goes into creating that. And then recently, they went to the ID server. They hadn't connected the two yet, but you can go to the JP server and then they connect to the ID server that way. And they went into this back room of this auto sorter machine that they had created. And when they went into the back room, the intricacies of it, the construction and building of it, when I noticed how far back it went and how many different um, aspects or items were used in the crafting of this self-sorting machine, I was like, okay, it, it, there's no way that anyone, well, I'm not going to say anyone, there's no way that they were sitting here and just pulling these designs out of their rear and, you know, uh, through trial and error putting this together. Absolutely not. This is way too advanced for that. I've seen smaller projects where people did that, and it still took hours, sometimes hundreds of hours. Um, and when I was looking at this, I'm like, to do this with trial and error would take thousands, years. So there's no way that they're doing this another way. And I knew that. As soon as I saw it, I knew, okay, they're using another program. So I started looking into it. And you might be wondering what I mean by that, and I can kind of go ahead and we'll walk through that in that respect as to, you know, what it was that I was seeing. Here's an example of what I mean. I have no idea if this actually functions, but it does give an idea of the intricacy, the level of engineering required to create something like this. And that's not something that you're going to figure out through trial and error. This is a trial and error. It's obviously a repeat and a repeat and a repeat. I believe these are pistons at the top. I have no idea what it does or what it doesn't do, but you could build something like this through trial and error. You could figure out the first section, then add to it, and so on and so forth. And then just repeat that going down the line. Even something like this I could see people figuring out through trial and error, but this is pretty advanced programming in that respect, and having a true understanding of how the items will combine through said programming of the game. And I'm like, yeah, there's something else going on here on how they're figuring this stuff out. And then we get into the actual programs. And I'll explain to you what I think these are, and what I recognize them as. Are they exact, copies or duplicates of those programs? Absolutely not. So the first one that we're looking at here, to me, has a lot of functions within it that are similar to AutoCAD. It also has functions within it that are similar to kind of like a Paint Tool SAI, or Microsoft Paint, but an advanced version of Paint. And they're kind of slammed together to produce this creator, where you can go through and it'll tell you how many blocks you need of what and what materials, blah 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 blah. I'm sure this can get pretty advanced in that respect as you add more crafting items to the structure itself, and more parameters for it, and so on and so forth. So you're learning a basic version of AutoCAD. This is a basic version of LabVIEW, or not even LabVIEW. This is I can't even, Circuit Designer. Yes. Without the actual, well, some circuits are here, but not all of them. This is mainly for the wiring. They call it circuits, but it's mainly for the wiring. When it comes to the actual components within the circuit, they have a simulator for that. And this is more like LabVIEW. Truly. So you're learning a basic version of LabVIEW. You're learning a basic version of AutoCAD. And then when you come over here, you're learning a basic version of Visual Basic, because you can also manipulate the programming of the game itself to allow items to have more function within the game. I don't know how well this would translate into actually learning those programs. You know, the real ones like Visual Basic. And this may not even actually be Visual Basic. This may be another programming type program that it's more closely related to. What I learned was Visual Basic, so that's what I associate it with. And the same thing, you know, with this one. This probably isn't exactly AutoCAD. There's probably another program that this is actually closer to. That's an architectural design program. And even with, you know, what I think is LabVIEW here, there's probably another program that's much newer today that this is more closely related to. And these are obviously dumbed down versions of those programs on top of that. But you're still learning the basics. And when you start stacking the basics on top of each other in that respect, you can make some pretty intricate circuits and circuit designs that will give you some very advanced outputs. This intrigues the engineering mind that I have. Would I want to play a game like this? No, absolutely not. Because like I said, I never enjoyed the paperwork, the engineering, but I always enjoyed the end result. The end result being what you create in game. I get that. And that end result, yes, would interest me. Would I be willing to play this game to do it? Probably not. It's a cool game. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot to it, and I see that. But yeah, I just don't see myself putting the thousands of hours in that I would need to create the stuff that I would want to. But it surprised me how deep this game really goes, how intricate it really is, and the associated programming that they designed for it to help people literally engineer projects. And there's some pretty cool projects that they've come up with, like what is it? Where is it? Yeah, this one. I saw how this functioned. You know, you put the chickens in there and they mate and reproduce. They lay eggs. Eggs go into another box that incubates them. And then little chicks go into another box, and once, you know, they get fed as well, I guess. I don't know exactly how that works, but I would assume that you have to feed them to make them grow. And then as soon as they get to full grown, they get cooked and put in the box. Yeah. And this is pretty small. I mean, you could probably put like a machine box around this. Throw it in a little building that you made to look like, you know, another chicken place, and you have cooked chicken in there free all the time. Ready to go. Just like a fast food place. Interesting. And I'm sure you can apply this design. You probably have to adjust it slightly for different species. But you could apply it probably to everything that you need to cook and eat in this game. Like I said, I've seen it for sorting materials. I've seen it for making potions. All sorts of crazy stuff. You can automate pretty much everything. Automate mining, resource gathering you can automate. With a sorter on top of that, you can dump all your resources into one box and they get sorted into thousands of boxes. truly crazy when you start to think about how far you can go with this, and then you can have them pull from the basic resources and then have that processed into other items and other things. And yeah, you could literally spend years creating all of that. And while doing so, yes, you would inadvertently learn the basics of about 3 different engineering programs in 3 different fields. It's not a bad thing, don't get me wrong. I just don't know how well that'll translate to learning the actual programs if you decided later on in life to go into one of those fields. Now, this is assuming that you're playing this game as a kid. Um, but even as an adult, I mean, I can see why adults play it and spend thousands of hours creating these things. It's it definitely puts your brain to work. Anyway, that's my rant for the day, and I hope you enjoy the rest of yours.